Hey, thanks for joining me on another Great Pickers channel. As I'm recording this, we're just kicking off the year 2026. And as you're wont to do, I'll look backward a little bit over the previous year and got me thinking a little bit about a lifetime of playing guitar. And I thought I'd take a moment and kind of walk back with you folks through the journey through the past of the guitars that have come and gone in my lifetime. There have been some nice guitars. There have been some okay guitars, and there's been some interesting guitars as well. So sit back, have a look with me as we go through a lifetime in guitars. This is a clip from an old family video I received last year of me, circa 1955, playing a toy ukulele. Guess you could say I was on my way. Soon, Elvis Presley hit the scene, and my first record was a 45 of Hound Dog on my 6th birthday. A little later on, folk music became the rage, and then the Beatles and the British invasion. Soon more folks were playing guitar than ever before, and I was among them. So my very first guitar was this one here. It's called a Gene Autry guitar. Gene Autry being a big cowboy star back in the day, and this little guitar was probably pretty popular in the mid-50s. I didn't know how to tune a guitar, and I didn't know anybody who did, so music wasn't really the object. It was more of a plaything. But you can see the little brown box sitting in front of the case, and that actually went onto the neck. And if the guitar was tuned, you could push certain buttons to form certain chords, and it's a pretty cool idea. So this is a picture of a early 60s, late 50s Silvertone archtop. This guitar was made with different names on it, Silvertone, Harmony, and others. We happened to find this one when I convinced my dad that I really wanted to play a guitar, and he took me to downtown Atlanta to a pawn shop where we found a guitar that looked just exactly like this one hanging on a wall for about $12.50. In the summer that succeeded this, I started to actually learn how to play. Now myself and my friend across the street had a couple of these. Our mothers actually paid a teenager from our church to teach us a little bit. He played trumpet, but he could play guitar as well, and what he had us do was to take a look and each get a Mel Bay guitar chord book like this one and begin to learn guitar chords, which we did. Now these guitars, being archtop guitars, had naturally high action, and being cheap guitars, they were pretty difficult to play. I tend to think back, I think we called these the meat grinders back in the day because they were rough on your fingers. But at least we got a start. After about a year or so of playing the archtop, I traded that in at a local music store and got a guitar just exactly like this one. It's a Tempo nylon string classical guitar, and Lord were my fingers thankful. So after playing that nylon string guitar and getting a little bit better and learning my chords, the next thing that came along about a year and a half or two later was this. Once again, a Silvertone guitar. This is called a Silvertone Bobcat, which, just like the Silvertone archtops, was a pretty ubiquitous guitar in that they were all over the place. But as you can see, this one basically is a knockoff of a Fender Stratocaster, at least in looks, and reasonably playable guitar. Although I didn't know it at the time, what was bound to become pretty valuable was not so much the guitar, but the amplifier that came with it, which you see a picture of here. These little Silvertone tube-driven amps got to be very, very popular 20 and 30 years down the road for folks who wanted some gritty sound from a vintage amplifier. Well, I played that Silvertone electric and that Tempo nylon string guitar for quite a few years, but towards the end of my high school Christmas, I asked for and got a 12-string acoustic guitar. The picture you're looking at here is one of an Echo Ranger. These were made in Italy and were pretty widespread guitars back in the day. It actually played pretty well and had a beautiful tone, given that it was a fairly cheap import guitar. And I played this guitar for several years as I attended college, until I got to the next guitar. Well, after many years of playing guitars that were nothing much to speak of, I finally decided towards the end of my college career that I wanted to play something that was a serious instrument. And that's what you're looking at here. This is a Martin D35S, which I bought over the summer between my junior and senior years. I've got a really good video that delves into this in great deal if you're interested. But it was a guitar that sort of changed my guitar playing and helped me step up a few levels. I still have this Martin today, and it's just a treasure. Sounds great, and it sounded better over the years. After graduating, it was a while before I could get into another guitar. I'd gotten married, and like most young married couples, we were scraping by and not a lot of extra money to be had. But I did find a particularly interesting used guitar that I was able to get my hands on. Now, George Harrison had always been a guitar hero of mine, and I had always wanted a country gentleman like he played, though I was a long ways from ever being able to afford one. But what I was able to find was a Gretsch Streamliner. And here's a picture of that. Now, my guitar wasn't this particular guitar, but in every respect, it looked exactly like this one. So what I attempted to do was to take this guitar and upgrade the pickups with gold pickups. I actually put a gold pick guard on it so it would look much more like a country gentleman. A fun guitar, but I never really bonded with it too much and didn't have much opportunity to play electric with anyone. So after a little while, and in an attempt to cash in some money to make a move to Colorado, I sold this guitar off. After about 10 years or so, I had moved out to Colorado with my first wife, and we decided we weren't going to make it. And after we divorced, I moved back to the Atlanta area. And after finding a good job as a way to celebrate, I found this guitar, which is a very interesting and unique sort of guitar. It's an Electra Vulcan 930. I happened upon it as I was having my Martin set up by the fellow who was doing the work on my guitars, and he knew of a player who was wanting to sell this off and had what seemed to be a relatively cheap price of about $300. Now, this particular guitar had, beyond just being a good sounding guitar, had a unique feature, and the Electra guitars had what they called MPC, or onboard effects, that were available. And you can see from the pictures here that there's a back panel, and when you open that back panel, there were interchangeable effects modules that could be inserted into the guitar, so you weren't having to play external effect pedals, but you could play some effects internally. Seems that these guitars have gotten fairly collectible, and what I paid $300 for, you might easily pay $1,000 for today in excellent condition, because they're getting kind of scarce and quite a collectible. In the early 2000s, I was finally in a financial position where I could actually afford to purchase another really fine instrument, and after a lot of looking around, I found this, which is a Larrivee LV05. It's a great guitar. Every bit as beautiful sounding a guitar, albeit in its own way, as my Martin D35S. So at long last, I had a second option to go to. I've got an in-depth video available on my channel about this guitar if you're more interested. Always had the yearning to want to play some electric, and for the first time after selling off the Gretsch many years before, I found this. I was actually looking to try to get into some sort of archtop or semi-archtop guitar, mostly like a Gibson E335, but I happened to find this Ibanez guitar, and it was a beautiful guitar, as Ibanez often are, and it actually had a really nice tone. I never did quite bond with it, so in my effort to keep getting down the road on finding the right electric for me, I actually sold this one off. I decided possibly maybe I could build my own guitar, and I was shooting for a Telecaster. So as I started to search around for the parts and the pieces or whatever, I happened to run across this G&L ASAT from about 2006. Now, it's a tribute series, which was their budget line that were basically had the same parts as their American-made line, but they were assembled in Asia. This one, I believe, was from Korea. At any rate, the picture on the left is what the guitar looked like when I got it. I got it off of an eBay sale that was just a great deal, and decided rather than build my own guitar, I would just mod it. One of the first things I did was put on the white pick guard that you can see here. And I also decided that I would like to get a humbucker on this guitar, so I moved the lead pickup down to a center pickup and put in a mini humbucker in there. And you can see from these pictures how the guitar finished off. I guess we all have that guitar, or those guitars that got away we wish we had back. But a few years down the road, I sold this G&L ASAT tribute on Reverb, and gosh, it's probably my biggest regret that I ever let it go, because it was a great playing guitar that I had set up just the way I wanted. But you live and learn. I had never really gotten the bug of wanting to build a guitar out of my system, and so after doing some modifications on the ASAT, I decided to go ahead and build from scratch my own Stratocaster, and that's what you see here. It was built out of parts from, I got the body off of an eBay vendor, I got the neck from Warmouth, and then sourced out the other parts in several different places. But basically a vintage Strat built to my liking. The neck actually had a 1 3/4 width nut on it, which made it a lot closer to what my Larrivee acoustic was, so moving back and forth between the guitars was much easier. Still have this guitar. It's got a great tone, and it's one of those I'm going to be passing on. After I retired, I noticed that my fingers were getting a little more finicky, and that I was starting to feel a little bit of pain in my fingers, and decided to look for something that was more gentle on my hands. And the first thing that I tried was this beautiful little guitar here, which was a La Pétré Etude. A really beautifully sounding guitar, and a fairly low budget guitar. I think I didn't pay more than $300 or $400 for it. But oddly enough, the extra wide nut width and the size of the neck somehow just didn't fit right for me. I started getting pain through my fingers and elbows, and as beautiful a guitar as it was, and as great as it sounded, I knew I needed to do something else. Well, after a lot of searching around, that something else proved to be a Cordoba Orchestra CE, which is Cordoba's attempt at a fusion guitar, and a very good attempt it was at a more narrow nut, a 1 7/8 nut like my Martin D35S, and a 12 fret neck. This guitar just has beautiful tones. It's got cedar top, rosewood back and sides, and just a real joy to play and to listen to. In fact, it has become the guitar that I play most often these days, just because of the comfort, along with the great tone. As I mentioned earlier, I let go of that G&L ASAT Telecaster style guitar when I never should have. And I had a bug to get back into another Telecaster, so in the last couple of years, I happened to find this, which is a rarity. It's a Fender Telecaster, but as you can see, it's got humbucking pickups. It's got a set neck, which is very unusual for Fender guitars, and it's a sweet playing little moderate low-end guitar. I use it primarily to play jazz-like sounds through, quite often through an acoustic amplifier, but it's a great little guitar, and I enjoy playing it from time to time. The very last guitar that I have bought, probably the last one I will ever buy, is this Alvarez. It's a parlor-sized guitar. It's called a model AP66, and it has a wonderful little tone. It's about a $400 guitar with electronics on board, LR Baggs electronics, and it's a wonderful little guitar. Just never have really quite bonded with it, but still pick it out and play it from time to time. At any rate, I think this is going to be the last one. Well, that's about it. I hope you've enjoyed this quick look across guitars back through the lifetime of one picker. Hopefully you had some fun with it, and I sure would love to hear from you guys and gals. Anything about comments you have about the guitars you've seen or the guitars that you've played and have been part of your lifetime as well. Thanks so much for joining me, and I look forward to the next time we get together.